Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I've got May numbers to report today as well as what's been going on in our weekly market. So diving right in, when we're looking at our May numbers, in May of 2024, our average price was $1,068,000. The good news is that in May of 2025, our average price is up almost 9% to $1,162,000. So that is a nice jump, especially when we look at the first few months of 2025. We have been sitting under that 1.1, and so we're kind of climbing again, which is nice. In terms of units, we are the exact same, and we sold 73 units this year and last year. One of the main things I think that's driving up our price is just the sheer volume of properties that are selling over that million mark. So of the 73 properties that we sold in May, 48 of them, so 65% of them, were over $1 million. That is quite high when we have a lot of stuff available under $1 million, but we just are seeing, transactions falling over that $1 million mark, and it's pulling up our pricing. So it's something we're going to be watching, because overall, it feels like pricing is softening, but if, we start to see more big ticket properties selling, it pulls up our average price. So I'm interested to see what happens in June, because we've had some nice momentum coming into June. Seems like the buyers are finally coming out. So I'm really excited to see how June numbers pan out. I will say that May numbers are, they're a refreshing set of numbers compared to what we've been seeing the whole year. So I think that is promising. Maybe we're just, in a delayed spring market. So that kind of leads me into what's been happening on a week-to-week basis. So I missed last week's update. Honestly, things have been crazy around here. And I just am not, some weeks, it's just impossible on a Tuesday for me to squeeze this update in. So I apologize that I'm sometimes having to report 2 weeks at a time. So that's the case this week. So in Georgetown, the great news is our sales are picking up again. We had 16 sales last week. Again, it's not our hot market of like 20 plus sales, but 16 is one of the highest weekly numbers we've seen this year. And it's just really nice to see. The week before that, we sold 10 properties. So finally, things are starting to move. I guess also good news is that we only saw 16 new listings, which is still a high amount of new listings, but it is not like crazy off of how many properties we sold. It's the same. So we need to see more weeks like that where we don't see, a huge amount of listings hitting the market compared to our sales numbers. So that is really exciting. Acton had 3 sales and 5 sales and 10 new listings last week. So Acton's inventory is starting to climb again. Glen Williams saw 1 sale over the last 2 weeks, and there were 2 new listings. The rural market saw 5 sales over the last 2 weeks, so 3 sales and 2 sales, and 6 new listings last week. So we are still seeing inventory coming on in all of our markets, especially the higher price point stuff. It seems to be piling on, but we are just, we're seeing it move, so that's helping with the overall numbers in that price bracket. And when we're looking at stuff that's terminating, relisting, we're still seeing the far majority of properties relisting at lower prices. So we had 14 properties last week that terminated and relisted at a reduced price. There were 9 properties that completely came off the market, which is what we want to see. We need to see the properties that don't need to be here exiting the market, and that will help to also keep our inventory at bay. There was 2 properties that relisted at the same price and 1 property that raised their price after a failed offer night. So overall, I think that's a really positive snapshot. So now looking at active inventory, which is still insane, but it is not, we might be coming close to a plateau, it feels like, because it is not skyrocketing right now. So 2 weeks ago, I was at 286 active listings when I reported, and we are at 289 this week. So that is really, it's refreshing. I mean, 289 is still bananas. Like I've talked about, our previous high was 232 active listings. So 289 is insane, but to only go up 3 listings when we were seeing like 10 listings, 15 listings, and climbing by that every week. 3 listings is amazing. So 289 active listings in Halton Hills, which is actually crazy, but for some reason I feel happy about it. In Georgetown this week, we are up to 185 active listings from 183. So again, we're kind of in a nice place where our inventory seems to be less skyrockety because we are starting to see sales come in. But I can't believe where some of our price pockets are. And I mean, 185 listings is crazy for Georgetown. Again, 140-ish was our previous record. So 185, that 185 is a high number for just Halton Hills. So to see it for Georgetown is crazy. So how many times did I say crazy today? It's still just it all feels crazy. So under 800,000 is up from 23 to 26 active listings. There are so many condo townhouses on the market, but within that pocket, there's a lot of freehold properties too. So I really think this could be a really nice time to be thinking about buying, because we have such inventory saturation in all of our price points that there's some really nice deals to be had. And some of the freehold products that are under 800,000 right now are really nice buys. So you can never time the bottom of the market, but based on this update compared to what we've been seeing the previous months, this feels like stability might be coming. And if we stop seeing listings hitting the market and inventory starts going down, we could be near the bottom right now. So that will be interesting to watch. 800 to a million is up to 50 active listings from 43. That is a crazy, that's the theme of today, is crazy. That is a crazy number for 800 to a million. So lots of amazing properties available in that price point as well, but we are seeing a lot of townhomes and semis there. And I mean, when you can get a detached house, even detached houses in Georgetown South, which rarely you see under $1 million, there are some. It's just, there's lots to choose from if you're a buyer. 1 to 1.5 million is actually down. Look at this. 84 was our previous number, and we're down to 82 active listings. It's still absurd. I mean, that's more listings than we had in all of Georgetown at the start of the year, but it's not skyrocketing, which it was for a few weeks. And 1.5 million plus is actually down from 33 to 27 active listings. We saw a bunch of terminations there. So that is overall, despite it sounding horrible, I'm still feeling really positive about the fact that we don't feel like we're in this giant snowball this week that we've been in of just like more listings and more listings and more listings. We really needed to see sales pick up, and I really hope that that's the case. So Acton this week is up from 32 to 35 active listings, so very high there. Glen Williams is also sitting very high at 15 active listings, and the rural market is up. I lied. The rural market is down from 57, and they're down to 54 active listings. So that is, again, a decent market update. We have seen buyers being very quiet, and it feels like the last few weeks they're starting to come out of the woodworks. We're still sitting very low on showings on the majority of listings that are out there right now. But to see these things start to transact is just going to bring buyer confidence back to the market. And that's really what we need to see to start to see our numbers come down. So I feel, like I said, very decent about this week's market update. We had May numbers that were up in terms of pricing. We had inventory not skyrocket, and we had a high amount of sales compared to what we've been seeing. So these are all good signs for our market. Whether they continue, I don't know. I was talking to my home inspector last week, and he said he was fully booked. He booked 11 inspections last week, and he had to turn away 8. So there are buyers buying properties right now, and that is, I guess, exciting. So I can't wait to see what happens in June. Hopefully we can look back on this horrible time in our Halton Hills market and just it be a distant memory. But for now, we will keep tracking what happens every week, and I do think we could be coming close, hopefully, to our market going back down. So if you are a buyer, I think now would be a great time to be looking at what's available, because there's still a ton of inventory to be able to negotiate some deals, but that slowly starts to get eaten up and that opportunity goes away. So we will see what happens. I will be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.